If anyone had suggested that stepping into a sauna on a sweltering summer afternoon would alter the course of my life, I'd have laughed it off. At 37, I lived a life of quiet contentment. Marrying Daniel, a successful businessman nearly 2 decades my senior, had felt like a practical choice years ago. He was charismatic, driven, and offered me a sense of security, a stark contrast to the chaotic relationships of my younger years. But over time, the warmth we once shared had dimmed, buried under his constant business trips and our growing emotional distance. Our marriage felt more like a partnership of convenience than a bond of love. Then there was Ethan, Daniel's son from his first marriage. At 23, he was the opposite of his father in every way, youthful, lively, and strikingly perceptive. He'd come back to the house after college, claiming he needed to save money before launching his career. Yet something in his lingering glances told me his return wasn't just about practicality. Ethan had an energy that was impossible to ignore, whether it was his sharp wit, the quiet confidence in his grin, or the way his hazel eyes seemed to see right through me. Despite my efforts to keep things proper as his stepmother, an undeniable pull grew between us, intensifying with every passing day. It was one of those oppressively humid days when the house felt eerily still. Daniel was away on another trip, leaving me alone with Ethan. I tried to keep busy that morning, organizing already spotless rooms and flipping through magazines I had no interest in. By afternoon, the heat was unbearable, and I remembered the sauna tucked away on the property, a space I rarely used. Wrapping a towel around myself, I headed to the sauna. The air inside was thick with the scent of cedar, and the gentle hum of the heater soothed my restless mind. I leaned back on the bench, letting the warmth seep into my skin, and closed my eyes. Time slipped away in the peaceful quiet until a soft creak snapped me back to reality. The door opened. My eyes flew open to see Ethan stepping inside, a towel loosely tied around his waist. "Didn't know anyone else came here," he said, a slight smirk tugging at his lips. "What are you doing here?" I asked, my voice sharper than I intended. "Could ask you the same thing," he replied, leaning casually against the wooden wall. "Thought you weren't into saunas." "Normally, I'm not," I admitted, but today felt like the right day for it. He shrugged and sat on the bench across from me, his presence filling the small space. His athletic frame and damp hair drew my attention, though I fought to look away. The silence between us was heavy, the heat amplifying the tension. Finally, Ethan spoke. "You okay, Claire?" His voice was gentle, concerned. "Why do you ask?" I replied, a lump forming in my throat. "You've seemed off lately," he said, his tone sincere. "Distant." My stomach twisted at how easily he'd noticed. "It's nothing," I lied, trying to brush off his concern. "It's because of Dad, isn't it?" he pressed, his voice steady but kind. "You don't have to hide it from me, Claire, I see it." His honesty caught me off guard. "He's always gone," I whispered, barely audible. "Sometimes I feel invisible to him." Ethan leaned closer, his expression serious. "You deserve better than that." His words hit me like a jolt, and I looked away, unsure how to respond. Then I felt his hand on mine, warm, steady, grounding. "You're not alone," he said softly. The sauna's heat felt suffocating now, but it wasn't just the temperature. His touch sent a spark through me, a mix of excitement and fear. I knew I should pull away, set boundaries, but I didn't. Instead, my eyes locked with his. Those hazel eyes, usually so playful, now held something deeper, more vulnerable, like he saw the real me, not just Daniel's wife. "Claire," Ethan murmured, his voice shaking slightly. "I know this is messy, but I can't ignore how I feel when I'm with you." His words hung in the air, charged with meaning. My heart raced as I searched for a response, but nothing came. All I could do was sit there, caught in the pull of his gaze. "This isn't right," I managed to say, my voice barely a whisper. "But it feels right, doesn't it?" he replied, his tone calm but certain. My body seemed to agree, betraying the logic screaming in my mind. The sauna's warmth paled in comparison to the fire building inside me. As he leaned closer, his face inches from mine, he whispered, "I don't see you as my father's wife. I see you, the real you." Those words shattered the walls I'd built around myself. Without thinking, I closed the distance between us, my lips brushing his in a hesitant kiss. It started soft, testing boundaries we both knew we shouldn't cross. But as his hand cupped my face, the kiss deepened, and all restraint melted away. The sauna's walls seemed to close in, cocooning us in a world where nothing else existed. For the first time in years, I felt alive, wanted, seen. His hands moved to my waist, pulling me closer, and I surrendered to the moment. The heat of the sauna blended with the warmth of his touch, overwhelming and intoxicating. My breath hitched as his fingers grazed the edge of my towel, pausing as if waiting for my permission. I couldn't stop him. I didn't want to. Every rational thought drowned under the weight of our connection. His lips moved to my neck, each kiss leaving me breathless. The creak of the sauna door jolted us back to reality. We froze, our breaths mingling as we listened for any sign of intrusion. After a moment, it was clear no one was there, but the interruption reminded us of the dangerous line we were crossing. "We should stop," I whispered, but Ethan placed a finger on my lips. "No regrets, Claire," he said firmly, his eyes filled with conviction and warmth. Looking into them, I realized I didn't regret a thing, not the kiss, not the touch, not the emotions we'd unleashed. For once, I'd let myself feel alive, and that was something I couldn't take back. But as we left the sauna, the weight of our actions settled in. The silence between us was heavy, not with shame, but with the gravity of what we'd done. Ethan walked beside me, his hand brushing mine occasionally, as if unsure whether to hold it or keep his distance. Back at the house, the outside world crept back in as if nothing had happened. But every glance, every subtle gesture between us was charged with meaning. I excused myself to check my phone and retreated to my room. Leaning against the closed door, I let out a shaky breath, replaying every moment in the sauna. Ethan's gaze, his touch, the fire that still burned inside me. How had we gotten here? My stepson, so young, had awakened something I thought I'd lost. Guilt began to seep in, tempering my euphoria. This wasn't just complicated, it was reckless. A soft knock startled me. "Claire," Ethan's voice was hesitant. I opened the door to find him standing there, his hair tousled, his face a mix of worry and longing. "Are you okay?" he asked, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. "I just need to think," I said, though I wasn't sure I meant it. "What happened in there?" he said, his voice steady. "It was real, wasn't it? You felt it too." I couldn't deny it, the connection, the intensity, but it didn't make it right. "We have to be careful," I said, my voice trembling. "Your father, he doesn't even see you," Ethan interrupted, his tone sharp. "You're more than just his wife, Claire. You deserve someone who knows that." His words hit hard, echoing the loneliness I'd felt for years. I reached for his hand, and he stepped closer, his touch gentle but firm. "I don't care if it's wrong," he said, his eyes locked on mine. "What matters is you." Before I could respond, his lips found mine again, and the room seemed to spin. This kiss was deeper, more urgent, as if we both knew how fragile this moment was. I pulled back, trembling. "This can't be our reality, Ethan." His eyes held a quiet determination. "I won't let this end, Claire. I can't." The days that followed were a blur of stolen glances and hushed conversations. We moved carefully, avoiding suspicion, but every interaction was electric. Ethan found excuses to stay close, helping with chores, lingering over coffee. Each touch, each look, carried unspoken words, and the risk grew with every moment. One evening, as I prepared dinner, Ethan slipped into the kitchen, standing close behind me. His hands rested lightly on my hips, his breath warm against my neck. "Need help?" he asked, his tone playful but laced with something deeper. "Ethan, we can't keep doing this," I said, though my resolve wavered. He smiled, unfazed. "Tell me you don't feel it, Claire, and I'll walk away." I couldn't. One night, a text from Daniel shattered the fragile bubble we'd created. "Working late again. Don't wait up." I stared at the message, the weight of my choices pressing down. "He's not coming back, is he?" Ethan asked, sitting beside me on the couch. I shook my head, unable to speak. He took my hand, his touch steadying me. "You don't have to do this alone," he said softly. His vulnerability broke through my last defenses, and I leaned into him, tears falling as he held me close. That night, wrapped in his arms, I felt safe in a way I hadn't in years. Weeks later, I sat in the living room, candles casting a warm glow. Ethan was beside me, his hand resting lightly on my knee. Our conversation drifted from mundane topics to something deeper, his gaze making even the simplest words feel significant. Then the front door swung open. My heart stopped as Daniel stepped inside, his coat draped over his arm. His eyes narrowed as he took in the scene, Ethan too close, the intimacy undeniable. "What's going on here?" His voice was cold, cutting through the air. Ethan pulled his hand back and I stood, my pulse racing. "Daniel, I didn't expect you home so soon," I stammered. "Clearly," he snapped, his gaze shifting between us. "Care to explain?" "It's not what it looks like," Ethan said, standing, but his words felt hollow. Daniel's expression darkened. "Then what is it, Ethan? Because it looks like something's going on between you and my wife." The accusation hung heavy. "Daniel, please," I started, but he cut me off. "Don't lie to me, Claire," he said, his voice sharp with anger. "I'm not blind." Ethan stepped forward, his jaw tight. "There's something, okay? I'm not going to lie about it." I turned to him, shocked. "Ethan, don't," but Daniel's face flushed with rage. "You little," he began, but I stepped between them, raising my hands. "Stop, both of you," I shouted, my voice breaking. "This is my fault, Daniel. Don't blame Ethan." His eyes bored into me, a mix of betrayal and disbelief. "You're right, it is your fault," he said coldly. "I brought you into this family, and this is how you repay me." Tears stung my eyes, but I held them back. "You've been gone, Daniel," I said, my voice cracking. "For years, I've felt like I don't matter to you. I messed up, but I'm not the only one to blame here." His expression faltered, but Ethan spoke up. "Don't talk to her like that," he said, his voice steady. "You've ignored her, treated her like she's invisible. She deserves better." Daniel turned on him, his anger flaring. "And you think you're better. You think you can swoop in and play the savior." Their voices rose, accusations flying, and I stood between them, my heart shattering. "I can't do this," I said, my voice barely audible. "I'm done." They froze, staring at me. "I'm leaving," I said, stronger now. "This family is broken, and I'm making it worse by staying." Ethan reached for me. "Claire, don't." "I have to," I said, pulling away. "This isn't fair to anyone." Daniel stood silent, his face a mask of anger and pain. I packed my bags, tears streaming down my face, knowing this was the only way. As I left the house, the weight of my choices felt both freeing and devastating. Ethan tried to reach out, texts, voicemails, but I couldn't respond. Daniel filed for divorce soon after, citing irreconcilable differences. Ethan and I barely spoke, the distance between us growing insurmountable. The memory of what we shared lingered, a bittersweet reminder of the cost of our choices. Some decisions leave scars that never fully heal, but they also reveal who we are. In the end, I had to let Ethan go, not because I didn't care, but because holding on would have destroyed us both.